Hey, what is up, mortals? It is TC Crew here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 2 of What If Deku with Spider-Man. I just wanted to get you guys by just saying, sit back and relax. You're in for a treat, so we begin. The first thing that we'll do is break your quirk down into its basic components, Spider-Man said in a pleasant tone. It's important to remember that you won't always be in a favorable position to use your quirk. As a hero, you have to find a way to adapt so that you can use your quirk.
My quirk uses the sweat I produce from my hands to generate explosions. How could I train my quirk beyond trying to increase how much sweat I produce?
Bakugo asked, sounding rather irritated by the explanation. Well, yes, we could train you to control the amount of sweat you produce, but we could also train you to focus your explosive power into a smaller area to reduce the area you affect, or we could even train your quirk so you can control the power behind the explosion, Peter Parker said calmly.
But why would Kachan want to make his explosions weaker?
Midoriya asked, confused. Stun grenades, or flashbangs, they are different types of explosives that don't have the explosive power as a standard explosive, Parker explained calmly. A look of understanding dawned on the two boys. They realized that the training would focus on exploring what they could do with their quirks. The training would also allow them to handle the different types of situations they might encounter when they become heroes. For Midoriya, the training would mostly consist of learning what type of abilities he got from the spider bite. The training would also focus on sharpening his senses so he could react to potential dangers. Another aspect of the training was helping the green-haired boy learn how strong the spider made him. It was a new experience for him. It was the first time where he had to hold back to avoid hurting someone. The training for Bakugo consisted of helping him examine different types of explosions. Once he understood the explosion, the blonde-haired boy then had to develop his own version of the explosion. At first, the training seemed simple. Katsuki was able to focus his explosions to reduce the area of impact. It also increased the destructive power behind his attacks. However, as he tried to make a technique that would stun people, he noticed that it was harder than he had at first thought it would be. Unlike the bombs that were designed to stun people, Bakugo's quirk was more harmful in nature. It ended up helping his friend because it helped the green-haired boy hone his spider sense. Despite the fact that Izuku had a spider sense, he slowly realized that he had to understand what his senses were trying to tell him. When the training first started, it was a common occurrence that despite receiving a warning about danger, the emerald-eyed boy would still get hit. At first, the explosive blonde made fun of his friend until Spider-Man showed them a video of him fighting a villain. They watched as a villain manifested illusions. The illusions prevented him from locating where something was. It was truly impressive to watch Parker use his vast experience to avoid attacks that he couldn't even see. For Midoriya, it represented a goal. He wanted to get to a level where he could react to danger that his other senses couldn't pick up. For Bakugo, it meant learning how to use the explosions to control the battlefield. The two friends learned that they had to prevent the villains from picking the battlefield and controlling it. The rest of the time before the UA entrance exam passed by quickly. The day before the final exam, Spider-Man pulled the two students aside. I know both of you guys are studying and training hard, but remember that there is a hidden part to the exam at UA, Spider-Man said calmly. Remember, being a hero means saving lives. Actually, stopping a villain only happens once the civilians are safe.
What does that have to do with the entrance exam?
Bakugo yelled in frustration as he'd rather be training.
Kachan, it might mean that UA is looking at your character as well. Physical exam might be to test whether you can defeat villains and save people,
Midori muttered in confusion.
It's almost like they might have some way to see if you will prioritize someone else's well-being over the chance of stopping a villain.
Katsuki wanted to yell at his green-haired friend over not supporting him. However, when the blonde-haired boy analyzed the situation, he realized that his friend was correct. If the heroes tried to stop the villains while civilians were endangered, it would only result in more people being harmed. For the two boys, it finally clicked about the importance of controlling the battlefield. If they could control the battlefield, they could prevent the villains from harming more people. They could also prevent further damage to the surrounding area. As they headed home, the two boys debated how UA would test to see if someone would try and help civilians first. They also speculated about what the physical exam would contain. UA had pro heroes as teachers, so it's possible the teachers would pretend to be villains. Then the students seeking to become hero students at UA would try and resolve the situations. The one thing that confused them was the criticism around UA. The school was constantly dealing with the complaints that the training it put its students through was too dangerous. Supposedly, UA had changed its entrance exam to be safer for students to take part in. This left the two boys confused. If the school they wanted to enter was changing up their exam, was it possible that they wouldn't have a physical exam? Ultimately, both boys agreed that it didn't matter. The training they had received was invaluable for their future aspirations. The next day, having forged a strong bond over surviving the Green Goblin's attack on their school, the two boys made their way into the exam room where a teacher would explain the physical exam to them. The first thing they noticed was that they had different test sites for their physical exams.
Hey nerd, why do you think they gave us different exam sites? Why did they even bother including the 0-pointer in the exam?
Bakugo snarled under his breath.
Kachan, the 0-pointer might not be a part of the test. It might be to see who will focus on saving people and who will simply try to fight the villain.
Izuku muttered under his breath hastily.
They're probably separating us in order to prevent us from working together during the exam.
The two boys started having a conversation regarding the format of the exam. However, it caught the attention of another student in the room. Once the explanation for the exam was given, the pro hero in charge of the physical exam dismissed everyone. After the two boys were outside, they were confronted by a tall boy with blue hair.
What you two boys did was disrespectful. You shouldn't have been talking during the explanation for the exam.
Tenya Ida complained as he stepped in front of them.
If you don't intend to take the exam seriously, then you should just leave. It's disrespectful if you continue to ignore how important this exam is.
Four Eyes, no one cares about the stick up your ass. If we weren't going to take the exam seriously, we wouldn't be here.
Katsuki snarled as he pushed past the blue-haired boy.
You should worry about yourself before you worry about us. Are you ready for the exam, or are you treating it too lightly?
Before Tenya could respond, Bakugo headed off to his test site. Midoriya was concerned for his friend. It was clear that the villain attack on their middle school still haunted him. Despite their training, Izuku could still feel the specter of the attack surrounding him. It was clear that Katsuki wanted to show that it wouldn't let something like that happen again.
Sorry about his abrasive personality. However, he's right. We should prepare ourselves for the exam.
Midoriya said as he walked towards his exam site. Once the green-haired boy was at the gate to his test site, he remembered something the exam proctor had said. The proctor made it clear that once the gate was open, the exam started. The emerald-eyed boy realized that this was a reference to the fact that there were no countdowns in battle. He resolved to run in once the gate opened. Midoriya also noticed that the blue-haired boy was in the same exam site, along with the brown-haired girl that saved him from tripping. As the gate started to open, the boy had a flashback to the attack on the middle school. The attack started without warning. The villain didn't care that he was attacking people who had no involvement in the issue he had with Oscorp. The villain only cared about getting what he wanted. Once the gate was open, Izuku sprinted through. He could hear the people behind him complaining about the fact that he was cheating. However, the proctor simply said that there was no countdown in battle. The exam proctor also told everyone to start heading in. The few seconds of hesitation gave Midoriya a chance to start taking out some of the robots. The green-haired boy ripped off the arm of a one-pointer and started using it to destroy the other robots. Izuku used his spider sense to warn him when another robot was about to attack him. His spider sense went off as a two-pointer started to shoot a laser beam at him. Deku simply did a backflip onto the robot and used his super strength to rip the robot's head off. When a three-pointer approached to shoot a machine gun at him, Midoriya simply jumped to his left to avoid the bullets. The emerald-eyed boy simply did a right roundhouse kick to the center of the robot to destroy it. The boy noticed that his training was already paying off. He was raking up points pretty quickly. Instead, he shifted his focus to help the other examinees that were getting swarmed by the robots. It was at that moment when he realized how UA would test if he would help people out in a pinch. They didn't need to add anything to the exam. All the staff had to do was make sure the robots were powerful enough to swarm the students and overwhelm them. Izuku muttered to himself as he tore the leg off a robot and used it to smack another robot away from a student who was getting overwhelmed.
I can't believe Spider-Man was able to figure this out after he read about UA. I wonder what he didn't have a chance to teach us.
Izuku muttered to himself as he tore the leg off a robot and used it to smack another robot away from a student who was getting overwhelmed. The robot horde seemed endless, and despite the fact that only half an hour had passed, it felt like hours to the students taking the exam. Slowly, the examinees were starting to tire out. Even Midoriya was starting to feel tired from the number of robots he had destroyed. His legs were starting to feel like lead from all the running and jumping. Izuku was impressed that Peter Parker could patrol the city all day. His spider sense started to go haywire. Slowly, the ground started to shake. Soon, the other examinees started running away from the center of the test site. As the shaking got progressively worse, some of the buildings began to collapse. This video is sponsored by ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN allows you to change your IP address, making it harder to track and securing your privacy. In addition to providing safe passage through the web, you can also expand the reach of your favorite streaming services like Disney+. If you are from the United States, you won't be able to watch any of the MCU and Sony Spider-Man movies, but by switching your location to Japan, you can access them whenever you want. Check out the link in the description to get 3 extra months when you purchase the 12-month subscription plan that costs $99.99 a year. This deal is for a limited time. And thanks to ExpressVPN for sponsoring this video. The shaking continued to get worse. The emerald-eyed boy looked up and he saw a massive robot towering over the buildings. Before he could flee, he heard someone making a plea for help. He noticed that the brown-haired girl was trapped under the rubble. Even though he knew that the girl was in no danger, Izuku chose to rush towards the robot in an attempt to save her. A small shudder went through him as he realized this was the safer version of the exam. As he got there, the green-haired boy realized that since he didn't have any support equipment, he would have to use his strength to lift the rubble off the brown-haired girl. After carefully lifting one piece of rubble off the girl, he threw it into the robot. Determining that this was a good strategy, Deku began throwing the rest of the rubble at the robot. When the rubble was cleared, he grabbed the girl and started dashing away from the robot. Izuku felt his spider sense tingle. When he turned his head to look back, he saw the robot was reaching towards him. In an attempt to maneuver himself away from the robot's reach, the green-haired boy tightened the grip on the girl as he jumped onto the side of a building and started running. There was a feeling of helplessness as the exam continued. It was as if the world was once again showing Midoriya just how powerless he was. He just hoped the exam would end as soon as he landed on the ground again. The green-haired boy was having issues catching his breath. Trying to protect someone from danger was harder than it looked. Just as he reached the entrance to the exam site, the intercom flared to life as the proctor announced the exam was over. It was also announced that anyone who was injured should go to Recovery Girl for treatment. The green-haired boy took the girl who had been trapped in the rubble to Recovery Girl. After that, he left without giving the girl a chance to say thank you or goodbye. As he left UA, he met up with his blonde-haired friend.
Hey, Kajan, how did the exam go?
Midoriya asked as he started walking alongside his friend.
I can see why UA has to deal with people complaining about safety. Who thought it would be a good idea to have a massive robot run through the city?
Bakugo snarled as they started to head home.
Do you think the UA was testing to see who would run at the first sign of danger? Or do you think it played some role in testing to see if we had the mindset of a hero?
Izuku started to mutter to himself as he analyzed the situation.
It was the perfect opportunity to see if people would act like heroes and protect those who needed help.
Oi, Deku! You need to stop muttering to yourself. It's annoying.
Katsuki grumbled in annoyance.
However, it's likely that robot played some role in testing whether or not we were heroic.
The two boys walked the rest of the way in silence as they considered what they had experienced during the exam. Both of them were too tired to bother wondering what the significance of the zero-pointer was. The only thing they knew was that they tried their best. Instead of going back to the beach to train, the two friends decided to rest and recover from the exam. It had been a taxing experience. A week had passed before the two boys got their test results in the mail. Izuku looked at the envelope as he considered how he did on the exam. He kept thinking that maybe he could have defeated the zero-pointer. Even while he was opening the envelope, he was thinking that he lost points for how he handled the giant robot. When the envelope was fully opened, a small disc fell onto the table. As the disc settled on the table, the device activated. A muscular, blonde-haired man appeared. Any concern that the boy had disappeared, as he wondered why the number one hero, All Might, was there.
Why is All Might here? I know he went to UA, but why is he delivering the message about how I did on the exam?
Izuku muttered excitedly as he couldn't wait to find out if he passed.
Indeed, it is I, All Might. I'm here to inform you about how you did on the entrance exam.
All Might exclaimed in a happy tone.
Young Midoriya, you passed the written portion of the exam with flying colors. During the physical exam, you earned a total of 50 rescue points.
Once All Might finished talking about the written exam, a brief video started to play. It showed the brown-haired girl that he saved, asking the teachers if she could donate some of her points to the green-haired boy with freckles who saved her. The exam proctor informed her that she did not need to worry about that. The person who had saved her had earned enough points.
Young Midoriya, you have displayed great potential in becoming a hero. During the physical exam, you earned a total of 50 villain points.
The symbol piece calmly said.
However, there was a secret part of the exam. As you probably guessed from the video, it was the hero portion of the exam. Indeed, by helping other students when they were in over their heads, as well as saving that young girl, you have proven yourself to be a real hero. So, how could we at UA deny you at your chance to be a hero? You earned an additional 50 rescue points. Welcome to your Hero Academia. I look forward to teaching you.
Izuku decided to call Katsuki and see how he did on the exam. He also couldn't wait to tell his friend that their favorite hero was going to be a teacher at UA. The two boys agreed to meet up at the beach and discuss how they did on the exam. Both of them were excited when they spoke on the phone. However, the green-haired boy could tell his friend was less excited for some reason. As he got to the beach, he saw Spider-Man was there as well. As Midoriya approached, he saw his blonde-haired friend appear. His friend seemed quieter than usual. It was almost as if something had caused him to calm down before coming here.
So, how did you guys do on the entrance exam?
Spider-Man asked excitedly as he waved them over.
What did you have to do for the practical exam?
We had to fight robots for the entrance exam. Apparently, I managed to earn points from the hidden part of the test.
Midoriya said excitedly as he remembered the exam.
It seemed that they wanted to see if people taking the exam would go out of their way to help others who needed it.
Yeah, the exam was difficult. I want to know why they thought robots were a good way to test people for an entrance exam.
Bakugo grumbled in annoyance.
According to All Might, I got 50 points and 50 rescue points.
Izuku excitedly started to mutter.
Kachan, can you believe All Might will be a teacher at UA?
I got some depressed old guy that had a pair of yellow goggles telling me that I got 60 villain points and 40 rescue points.
Katsuki snarled.
He made it sound like he had better things to do.
Based on the description, that sounds like the pro-hero Eraserhead, Spider-Man calmly said as he analyzed the two friends' reaction to their results. I recommend being careful if you're in his class. He has a track record of expelling students he thinks have zero potential. He even expelled an entire class once. The two boys looked at Mr. Parker as if they were expecting him to make a terrible joke at the end of it. However, the pro-hero simply kept looking at the two boys with a serious face. This was the first time the two boys hadn't heard him try to relax the tension. I recommend that you do everything in your power to show him that you have potential, Peter said calmly as he tried to sound encouraging. Given how you guys performed on the exam, I don't think you should have a trouble. However, despite the quirks he has according to UA, he's a great teacher.
Why does he look like a homeless man? Shouldn't he take pride in the fact that he teaches his students important lessons?
Bakugo grumbled. Everyone has their own way of showing that they take pride in their work, Spider-Man said calmly. Besides, he sounds like a stereotypical underground hero. They tend to hate the media attention.
But why would he hate the media?
Izuku asked in confusion. Not every hero likes having people watch their fights. Aside from maybe All Might, most heroes can't stop a villain in one punch, Parker said with a mild annoyance. News reporters often portray the situation as far safer than it actually is. In my experience, it only makes it harder for heroes to protect people because the civilians want to stay and watch the fight. This was the first time that the boys had considered the risks about media attention. It didn't seem fair that the media would ignore the situation that the hero was in. However, it gave the two friends a goal to achieve. They wanted to get strong enough that they could protect people without having to worry about the people around them. The two friends agreed to continue their training. The exam showed them that they had plenty of room to grow. The exam had shown them just how difficult becoming a hero was. When the two boys compared notes, they both realized that they could have performed better. Bakugo pointed out that Midoriya could have punched the robots and moved on to the next one. It was unnecessary to use the robot as a weapon. Izuku pointed out that Katsuki could have used a stun grenade to disorientate the robots. The blonde-haired boy agreed when he realized it would allow him to use his quirk more precisely. The two boys continued to train as the first day of school approached. They were determined to make sure that no one would try and expel them for a lack of potential to be a hero. As the two boys went to school, they heard some explosions off in the distance. Both of them shuddered as they remembered how their school had been bombed. Since they didn't want to be near the explosion, the two friends decided to run to school. This time, the explosions grew more sporadic and farther away. It was almost like Spider-Man was getting closer to catching the villain. As the two friends got to class, they noticed a yellow sleeping bag near the room. Bakugo pointed it out to Midoriya, and they both went into the classroom marked for Class 1A. The two boys wondered if any of their classmates had stumbled into earning points from the second part of the exam. Katsuki decided to put his feet on the desk while waiting for the class to start. A familiar blue-haired boy entered the room.
You should be more respectful to this school. It is disrespectful of you to put your feet on the desk,
Ida said as he started waving his arms aggressively.
Did your school put a stick up your ass or something? I will do whatever I want since the teacher's in here,
Bakugo grumbled. Midoriya just sat by and watched his best friend argue with one of their classmates. For Izuku, this was a good sign, since it meant his friend was slowly recovering from the trauma that he had endured earlier in the year. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all of this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, I'd like to thank our sponsors, PDF Flames, Ethan Davis, Terry Chills, Shifter Mealies, Adam Sagel, XAV Beats 03, Zill, and Joshua Phelps. Secondly, I'd like to thank all of our YouTube members, Toy Casta, Rob the King, Sith Lord 906, CF 2364, and Knuckles, Rimuru Tempest, Angel Jurez, Donald C. Stewart, Bryant Greer, and Refek 135. Thirdly, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has you covered. Our We the Celestials, My Hero Academia, and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check out if you're interested. Fourthly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in today's excellent content production. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, I'd like to extend out an invitation to join the team. The only caveat is that we only accept members from 16 years old to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interests by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it for today's video. So, thank you all for watching, and have a great day.